All right, let's talk about Florida if we can. Will Cain.
Ma'am.
Let's throw I love when you call me ma'am, although it does make me feel old. Let's throw it up on the graphic about
That's a way of saying, don't do that again, ma'am.
I just can't decide how I feel about it, ma'am.
Say, hey.
Look at this graphic, which is the likely GOP primaries voters' choice for nominee. This is a CNN Time poll, and you can see Mitt Romney now at 36%. He has dropped from 43%, and Newt Gingrich has gone up 34% now to what he was at 18%. And Santorum, if you look at it, he's sort of dropped a little bit. If you look over the last couple of days, it's kind of stayed flat. How worried should Mitt Romney be about these numbers?
I think he should definitely be worried. I think that Florida's going to be much tougher than he originally anticipated. But the other story in those numbers is that we've seen actually Newt Gingrich crawl back a little bit. There were some polls that showed that Newt Gingrich was actually in first place for a little while. Roland and I had a nice little throwdown on your channel yesterday because I said that people should not underestimate Newt Gingrich. When all of your traditional analysis and all your logical inputs go in and you come up with there is no way that Newt Gingrich can be president of the United States. And by the way, there is no way that conservatives, by any rational analysis, should be adopting Nut Gingrich.
Operative word there, rational.
He's not the most conservative. He's not anti-establishment, despite your biggest wishes. He's not the most electable. But when you keep coming up with the same number, despite logic, you might tell yourself, I should stop predicting. So quit saying Newt Gingrich doesn't have a shot. He might just have a shot.
We disagree, Soledad, primarily because Will tried to use the Tim Tebow comparison. And then he said, Newt keeps on winning. I said, wait, he's only won one state.
You were comparing Newt Gingrich and Tim Tebow?
You know, this is what I said. Roland heard this. For 6 months, analysts went on ESPN and said, Tim Tebow is no good and he'll lose this week. But he kept winning each week, despite the fact that his tangibles did not add up. Newt Gingrich's tangibles do not add up, but he's a player.
What's different about Florida?
I thought, what I wanted to say is that I thought it was interesting that Newt Gingrich wasn't farther ahead with Latino voters because he has, a supposed plan, which is more of a delay approach, whereas the other guy, Romney, has a deny approach, in terms
Well, let's play a little bit of that. Okay, here's what they're talking about. You're talking specifically about immigration and the Dream well, kind of the Dream Act, right? Because everybody has their version of the Dream Act that they're talking about. The No Dream Act. Okay, play.
I'm not in favor of going around the country trying to round people up and put them in buses and take them across the border.
If you go around this country and say to people, hi, would you like to legalize 11 million people who cross the border illegally? Jorge, you're never going to get that done.
People can choose a college, and so the idea that we have to provide an in-state tuition break to people to be able to allow them to come to college, I reject that idea.
I am for half of the Dream Act. I'm not for the whole Dream Act. But I'm for the part that says, if you're in the United States, even if your parents brought you illegally, if you're here, you have the same right to sign up in the military.
So Newt Gingrich's position is not so far off from Mitt Romney's position on immigration. So is the takeaway Latinos don't care that much about immigration in Florida or in this particular election, or is the takeaway that they're just supporting Mitt Romney because they support his immigration vision better?
Well, Latinos in Florida are really concerned about the economy, as Latinos across the nation are, because we have an 11% unemployment rate. Well, it's higher than the national rate. But the thing is that it's conditioned on the response to the Dream Act. So Latino voters are not going to support someone who says, yeah, I have this great job growth plan, but I'm going to basically block students who want to legalize their status.
But Mitt Romney has said that. He said, I will veto. Hang on.
Which makes no sense with big capitalists and their plans to support immigration reform and legalization. You have small, guys like Michael Bloomberg and Rupert Murdoch who are pushing for legalization. They think it's going to reinvigorate the economy and help boost. But then you have Romney who's talking about, opening doors, et cetera, and boosting the economy and putting a block in front of students.
So Ron Brown's team wanted to hop in on this conversation. Go ahead, Ron.
So two things. First, I mean, there is a difference, of course, in their policy on the 11 million who are here illegally. Romney has embraced, when he talked about self-deportation, it was a clunky phrase to really elevate what has been an idea promoted by a handful of conservative think tanks for the last 6 or 7 years called attrition through enforcement, the idea that you would make it so onerous for people to work that they would leave, and he really embraced that. And of course, Gingrich is talking about something very different with kind of community boards that would allow some people to stay. Can I just say that if you look inside your poll about Florida, the internal trend is encouraging for Romney, because what you see is a reversion to the pattern that was working for him earlier in this race, which essentially is 3 words: divide and conquer. I mean, the story about your poll is that Romney is doing better among the centrist groups, again, than Gingrich is doing among the conservative groups. That's what we saw in Iowa, where Romney consolidated the center of the party behind him more than anybody consolidated the right of the party against it. If you look, for example, in your poll in Florida, and that changed in South Carolina, where Gingrich got to above 40% among groups like evangelical Christians, Tea Party supporters, non-college Republicans. If you look inside your poll, Newt Gingrich is still ahead among Tea Party supporters. He's still ahead among evangelical Christians in Florida, only by relatively small amounts. Romney's advantages among the opposite group, non-evangelicals, non-Tea Party, is much bigger. That's the formula that worked for him before. That's what's giving him the slight advantage in Florida. The other important point about Florida, the groups that favor Romney are much more prevalent than they were in South Carolina. South Carolina was 2/3 evangelical. In 2008, the Florida electorate was 60% non-evangelical.
And you are teeing up what we have to tee up, which is tonight's debate, which is hosted by CNN at the University of North Florida in Jacksonville. That's going to happen at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And again, as much as there's